Welcome to the Chase MedSearch Podcast, the place where we dive deep into the medical device sales industry by discussing the current trends, timeless philosophies, and amazing experiences that shape our niche of the industry. Join me, Jordan Chase, on a guided tour as I speak with established sales leaders and professionals as they share stories that will help you get in, stay in, and thrive in your medical device sales career. Let's start the show. Welcome back to the Chase MedSearch Podcast. Reminder for those who don't know, we're not just a podcast. We are a medical device recruiting firm, and we fill positions nationally. There's not one state I know of where we have not made placements. Visit chasemedsearch.com to find our latest position listings. You can also find me, Jordan Chase, on LinkedIn, and I post up-to-date position listings there. I'm capped at 30,000 LinkedIn connections, so you can follow me on LinkedIn, but unfortunately, I can't accept your invitation if you send me one. Finally, if you've got feedback on our podcast, please email it to me at jordan@chasemedsearch.com. And if you like what you hear, please leave us a glowing 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It does help grow the show. Okay, business aside, let's talk about our guest today, a return guest for the second time, back by popular demand, and I will already predict that Travis McCoy will be a 3-time guest, breaking the all-time record for who we've had on this podcast. He is a special guest and one that I've gotten incredible feedback on from his first appearance here. He is a 10-time President's Club winner for Boston Scientific. He's a past Rep of the Year award winner and was the highest annual revenue producer for 7 years with a territory that was cut 6 times. From the wonderful state of Louisiana, which, as we know, is an amazing state, but has a low wage index. So what he did in sales there in the neuromodulation business is absolutely mind-blowing. He's written a book. It's available on Amazon and Audible, and it's called Authentic Sales, and you should buy it and read it or listen to it today. Travis, welcome back to the Chase MedSearch Podcast.
Thank you, Jordan. That was a heck of an intro. I appreciate it. And 3 times, that's what I'm going for. We'll probably end up doing 4 because some of the companies that I'm consulting with are in the neuromodulation realm. So we'll have relevant things to continue to talk about. So
I love it. I absolutely love it. And we're going to move at a snail's pace through your book because it's just helping me so much in what I do with this business. I'm passing on insights to my brother who also works for me. So we should probably write you a check, I think, for what we're doing this year as a consulting fee. But anyways, we've had a lot of fun having you on, and we're just continuing to drive the conversation forward about selling successfully, not only in medical sales, but other places. But I want to kick off with a story. You have some amazing stories in this book. Tell us about your friend that sold his solar panel company. That was a story I really enjoyed. What made him such a great salesman? Because it really connects with the title of your book, Authentic Sales.
Mark Jones. So he was 1 grade ahead of me in high school and just an amazing guy. Just a good guy in high school. You never observed him pick on anybody. You never observed him do anything wrong. I mean, just a great stand-up guy. He was athletic. He hung with the cool kids, but he wasn't your typical cool guy that would, as movies portray cool people with a clique or whatnot. He was just a good guy, but nobody would have ever said he was a sales guy. Nobody would have ever identified. There was a ton of other guys that were in his circle that you would have clearly said were the sales guys. And then he goes off to just destroy it, to rank himself nationally, almost $1 billion sale of his company to a Fortune 500 company. So it's just crazy. And what I can say to it is character. If I had to just sum it up and give you one simple answer, character. And as we went on to college or university, you would just hear how people's doing. And you would hear a lot of stories about how so-and-so did so-and-so wrong, whatever. You never heard that about him. I have to just put one thing out there. It's character. But we happened to be together at a friend of ours' funeral for their family member, so it was not the best environment to be talking. Yeah. We just caught up quickly, and I just asked how things were going, and he was just sharing a few stories. I just asked how disconnected was he from customers, and he laughed. He goes, "No, I'm involved all the time." So you're talking a company that just sold for like $875 million, and he was still involved with solar panel customers. And he may not have liked dealing with troubled customers, but he got brought into them and he did amazing. And he just would not stop until that customer was satisfied. And I think, we have to be careful in sales not to have a service mindset, because you can have your time stolen from you. You can provide a lot of service and take care of a customer and then not grow. And we all know, the majority of the people listening to this podcast, we got quotas to hit. So it's nice to take care of people, but we have to be forward thinking. We have to grow. But they come hand in hand. They really do. They come hand in hand. And if you stop and reflect back on some of your accounts that grew or the referrals that you received, they came from the people that you serviced and you did right by.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I have to just sum it up without going into a lot of details about solar panel sales, I'd say his character. He made sure that they left the customer better than when they met him.
But he was passionate about referrals too. And that's something that, really ignited a spark in me. I'm reading the book. I set it down on Sunday and I texted a handful of people that we recently placed and asked them, hey, would you mind going on LinkedIn? And, we love working with you, if you love working with us, would you mind writing us a referral? Just right there. I was like, you know what? That's the best advertisement we can have.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny you say that, because just last week I referred you to a CEO of a company.
Huh.
And obviously, I think that'll come off a lot more powerful than if you cold called them.
Absolutely.
No matter what you say out of your lips, wasn't going to be as powerful as the referral. That's a KOI or a metrics or something that it should be measured so much more.
Yeah.
And I did go into a little bit more depth in that in the book, but we can just talk about not just in his situation, but everywhere. You really want to start making some money? Then think about referrals. I just had a talk today with somebody who owns a mechanic shop, and he's like, well, I'm talking to I don't know if it's office manager, my new store manager. And, I'm really talking about customer satisfaction. I said, hold on, you need to make a slight change in that. Ask him 1 to 10 when he's done dealing with a conflict, because that's what the conversation was about, was how he deals with conflicts of the customers.
Hmm.
I said, when he's done dealing with the conflict, 1 to 10, how likely is that individual now to refer somebody to the automotive shop? And I said, that will get his brain thinking about it appropriately and in the right direction. Because if you're thinking about not only just taking care of their needs, but doing it in a way that they're also going to go off and refer something back to you, then you cannot possibly do a better job. Because not only are you going to take care of their needs, because if you don't, they're not referring you back anything. So therefore, if you take care of them in a way that you foresee or hope, or in a way that you believe they might refer you back a customer, then you took care of their needs, but you did it in such a way that's going to, lead to growth. And then you probably went the extra mile. But that's one of the biggest measurements I wish everybody would measure.
Mm-hmm.
We talked last time about meaningful measurements. As if you really want to increase your awareness, sit down and try to figure out what's a meaningful measurement for you that helps you grow yourself, but also really bring satisfaction to your customers.
Hmm.
And once you uncover that meaningful measurement, do a Likert scale to it, 0 to 10. How did you do on it? And I think the one I just shared with you about how likely is that person going to refer a customer or another patient to you is a good way to do it, because referrals cover it all. You can't do somebody wrong and then expect a referral. And you can do somebody good, but they silently go off and don't refer. So I tell my students this at Southeastern Louisiana University when I'm teaching the sales curriculum. You want to make good money? Become a good salesperson. You want to make real money, some big money? Learn how to sell and get referrals. Understand the power of a referral, and then you'll make some serious money. And all along the way, you'll be doing people right.
Mm-hmm. They go hand in hand. I like your definition you had about what is selling. And you say it's connecting, articulating, understanding, providing a genuine benefit, meeting a real need or desire, and leaving your customer in a better position. There's a lot to that, but it starts with connecting.
Yeah. They're not going to put down their defenses and share with you problems and pains if you're not connecting. And, last time we quickly talked about the superpower to have. That's where I believe that superpower of gaining trust fast really leads to that. Because if you can connect with people, then they really will share pain. Too often do we search for a very superficial pain very fast, or a predetermined one that we just assume they have, and maybe through quick conversation, they acknowledge that, or they validate that superficial pain, and then we go all in on it. When you connect with them, you can really lean in and learn, and they'll open up to you, and you can understand, yes, they may have that pain that you initially thought they would, but they have a much deeper pain that you actually didn't see coming. And that's not going to come unless you build trust and have a connection.
There's a great story in your book about that, about creating that genuine connection that builds trust with your customer. When you were working at Edward Jones, and there was an older couple that you said you'll always remember. Tell us about that story, because I think the wife was easier to speak with, but the husband was not.
I absolutely adored that couple. The husband was tough. And later on, when I found out what he did for a living, it made a lot more sense. So, Edward Jones, you go door to door selling stocks and bonds and life insurance. And I'm in a fairly nice neighborhood. It's about as nice as they get in this area without having a gate. So I'm going door to door. And in the nicer neighborhoods, you get people that are straight up rude, or you get people that are very nice. Lower income neighborhoods, believe it or not, people are more willing just to chat with you because nobody goes soliciting in low income areas. So this neighborhood was very nice. She answered the door. She was right around upper 60s, sweet as could be. And we started having a conversation. I let her know that I was opening up an Edward Jones office in town, and I'm going to be holding some classes, and would she be interested? She said yes. I said, what are you interested in? And she goes, well, I'd like to actually just start buying stocks. And we had a conversation, and it was a lengthy conversation right there on the doorstep. And her husband came and interrupted us and kind of told me to essentially beat the street, take off. And I got her permission to come back with some stock tips. And she said, absolutely, I'd like that. So I left and I did she wanted, she was into cooking. In our interaction, I said, I'm going to bring you back some cooking, some spices or whatever. And it was, I think it's McCormick spices. I brought her back, and she invited me in this time, and I'm showing them to her, and I'm chatting with her why I chose those. He walks up, grabs the list, looks over. He didn't know anything about McCormick, the spice one, but the other ones, he told me why they're garbage and this and that. And instead of overcoming an rejection, because I did my research on those stocks, and I kind of got what the analysts were saying about them, and then did my own little work. He, instead of overcoming the objection with what he said about the companies, I just leaned in and asked him why. Well, what is he like? Well, what does he look for? And this is the important part. Too many times people will try to overcome the objection right then in the moment, and that's not going to get you anywhere. If I win, what? I just entered into a debate, and there's only one winner in a debate. Either I'm going to win and he's going to lose, and at the end of the day, I'm the loser because I didn't win over my customer, I didn't connect with him, or he wins and then I look like a fool, losing credibility as the investment representative. So be cautious not to enter into debate and do like, in some situations where it's like, learn to overcome objections. I think it's more important to understand the objection than to overcome the objection. Time is on your side. So I took in what he said, finished up my conversation with her, left. Now I understood him. I understood what industries he liked. I understood how he picked his stocks, did some more research, came back with 5 new picks, shared them with her, knowing that he was going to intervene and intercept the stock picks, which he did. And he went through and he discounted about 3 of them, and 2 of them, he goes, kind of leaned in a little bit on those. And we had a little healthier conversation about them. Ultimately, he didn't like those 2 either. Finished up with her. I was meeting with her, kind of teaching her all the P/E ratios and market caps, and I was teaching her everything about stocks, essentially doing private lessons. So go back, our next appointment, come back. He's there again. I honed it in. I think he liked 4 of the 5. And then we started having a conversation. He sat at the table with us, and now him and I started having some serious dialogue. He was a state employee, so Secretary of the State in a certain agency, and she was his handler in the field. So he was very knowledgeable. They were very well educated, world traveled. And it was just funny because he was tough as nails, strong, intimidating, knowledgeable. There was no way I was just overcoming his objections and winning him over. But when you try to understand their objections,
Mm-hmm.
lean in, go away, come back, it shows several things. It demonstrates that you're not quitting on them. It demonstrates that you care. It demonstrates that you're putting in the work for them. And that's something ultimately we all want to partner with. When we're choosing various vendors, that's what we want. So demonstrate it. We want somebody that's going to go do some research and come back. Now, the most important thing I did was I kept making sure that I had a reason to return. To me, it wasn't locking down the business, it was locking down my next appointment. As long as you have a reason to return, the clock just keeps getting reset. It's like baseball. Baseball has as many innings as it takes. But otherwise, you keep having reasons to re-engage, reasons to return, then it's just a matter of when and not if you're going to get their business.
Absolutely. I love that. How long did that take for you to successfully win the guy over?
It actually happened faster than you would imagine. And the reason is they were both retired. So her schedule was open. So it was only about 3 weeks. It was 5 visits in 3 weeks. And then they both started to invest with me.
That's great. Another example that you talked about with connection, because we are made, I like how you said, we're made to connect with each other. We crave it. We want to be around people who get us on a wavelength that others do not. And you had an unusual doctor that you were doing lunches and office presentations with him and weren't getting anywhere. And it looks like from the book, it took about a year to get there with him. Tell us about that story and how you won that doctor over. Because here's an unusual human being, doesn't really care about the food. It's nice to be visited, but he's not wowed by anything you're presenting to him. But you did end up connecting with him. How'd you do that?
Yeah, I want to be careful to tell reps out there to be careful on this one, because essentially I just gave up. Psychologically, I just gave up. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to impress him anymore. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Mhm.
And when I did, he felt the authentic me, and then all of a sudden, for the first time, he perked up and paid more attention to me. And then we started having some meaningful conversations. It was like I was being too salesy or too polished, and he could tell that I wasn't being authentic. So a part of me, when I finally psychologically just gave up, like, you know what? I'm not worried about impressing him. I still was pursuing him and I was going to go in there, but I was just going to be more raw with the material and the device. And it worked.
Mhm.
It absolutely worked. And now, granted, personality types lined up. He's the type that can't stand a well polished salesperson. But then it also let me know, like, you can't be a cookie cutter. You can't just go into each account the exact same way. You need to have your awareness completely heightened and pick up on things and personality traits. And it's not all about how you deliver, it's about how they receive it. And if his heart and his mind was closed to a polished professional person that's trying to act all uptight and professional, then that allowed me to connect with him. And then there's the flip side. Don't come in casual until you've earned the right to be casual with them. So you come in fine tuned and dressed to the nines, and you come off as professional as you can until they grant you permission to be a little bit more casual. So you need to really lean in on your awareness and really go with your gut on the awareness. And
Mhm.
if you mess up, you mess up. But I think you'll have a higher percentage of success or closing if you go with your gut, pick up on certain personality traits, and then adjust your communication to help them receive it.
Mhm.
You're not being fake. You're just delivering it in a way that helps them receive it. I'm going to back up to his story because it is funny, but I want to share this real quick because it's something that people get. Well, I want to be authentic. I want to be myself. I don't want to change to sell. It's like, hold on now. If we're back in high school and I get, my homecoming date cancels on me the day before. Jordan, you're gonna talk to me and comfort me differently than you normally would on the football field. You're a friend, so
Yeah.
you're going to say, "Hey, man, I'm sorry about that," whatever.
Mhm.
So does that mean that you're not being authentic? No, you identify that I'm hurting, so you address it differently. You see a friend at a funeral versus you see that friend at a wedding. You're going to have a different communication
Yeah.
or conversation because of the environment, whatever. So I would never say, "Well, that person's not being authentic." It's just the environment has changed, and we're humans. So I want to put that out there first. Don't receive what I'm about to share as, oh, you're just being fake, jumping around. No, you can have an authentic you in different environments.
Yeah.
So this doctor, he's a neurosurgeon. He's the top of the food chain. And I heard from everybody that the reps are not allowed in his OR. He puts you in the hallway, and the circulator leans out and asks you if you have this or screw or just support. And every once in a while you come in if he needs to ask you something, but you're outside. You're out the hallway. So I think my first case, I was in there because he didn't really know my device. So therefore I was in the surgery longer, and I kept asking, do I need to go in the hallway now? And he let me stay in there because it's his first time. I don't know about first time, but he was not that familiar with doing the procedure. So I was like, okay, that's just, next time I'll be put out in the home. Well, when he wasn't around, I found out this later. I loved meeting the patients in pre-op, and I loved educating the family. And some docs feel like you're overstepping the boundaries talking to family members or talking to patients. And with him, I said, hey, I need to go find out where the patient's pain area is, and he granted me permission. Well, while I was doing patient education and talking to his patient, I saw him come in, and he went around and was over by the nurse's station, and I found out later that he was listening to me. And again, later I find this out that he actually liked the way that I treated his patient, and it was really important to him. He was he was cold to reps, and he had this weird vibe to people, like he doesn't care, but he really did care. And I didn't know that. I was being normal the way I talked to patients, and he liked it. So over the course of a couple of years, we became very close. He was 100% loyal. If we're in the OR and I say something about a patient, he didn't second guess it. We were in harmony together, and his patients were getting amazing care because, he's the neurosurgeon. He's extremely knowledgeable, but I'm the guy programming the stimulator. So it was a perfect partnership. The guy was just great.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I got a funny story off the wall. So I'm in a cage fight, 2012. It's in a casino on the Gulf Coast, and the fight doctor bails out. So I ask him if he wants to be a fight doctor. So he's
Somehow I didn't know you were a cage fighter.
I don't tell too many people. So yeah, it was Hollywood Casino is sold out. You're coming through DJ, coming through the fog machine, coming out. So I come out to my song. I go up to the state commission. Well, back up. I said, do you want to be a fight doctor? He says, absolutely. So this is his first time being a fight doctor. They call my name. I come out through the fog machine. The song's playing.
Okay.
Come out, and I go right up to, you got to go to the state commissioner. The referee checks your cup, mouthpiece, gloves. Make sure you haven't. They sign the gloves. Make sure you haven't put anything in the extra in the gloves. State commissioner is watching over after him, and then the fight doctor checks you for concussion. Looks at your eyes and whatever. Dr. Smith looks me in the eyes and says, "You're gonna die." The referee and the state commissioner stare at him like, "Are you kidding me? The guy's about to climb in the cage and fight, and and it was the most awesome thing because you're a little nervous about to get in the cage, and he made me laugh.
Yeah,
and it was awesome. I'll never forget that. And then I went in, but it's like he almost got in trouble by the state commissioner and the referee. Like, you never say that to a fighter. So
yeah. I mean, not to dwell on it too long. Do you have a particular fighting style? Muay Thai or Krav Maga? What's your
ragdoll? So the guy I fought was a collegiate wrestler, so he threw me around like a ragdoll. He wore himself out. I think he set a state record of 11 takedowns in 2 rounds, and he was exhausted. And I knocked him out. So ragdoll, but you never heard of that one. No, I was fairly well rounded. My coach Rich Clementi would say I was well rounded, horrible at everything. So he kept me humble.
One thing that I really enjoyed about your book is you seem to be, and in fact you are, going against the grain of these big cookie cutter sales programs that a company will adopt, enforce on their reps, and then ride along with the reps to make sure that they're going through their checklist of A, B, C, D. And you seem to be a guy that's like holding his hands up saying, stop, stop, stop. It's got to be authentic. And what I liked was there's an area where you kind of go through some of these more stereotypical things. We talked about objection handling, But there are a few others that I'd like to touch on. High pressure sales was one of them. And I think we've all maybe experienced that in our life, but it's sort of amazing to me that there would be medical companies that would try to engage in high pressure tactics on surgeons, but I'm sure there are. But tell us a little bit about that, and kind of overly focused on question based selling, transactional. I just like your schematics there, how you sketch that out.
Yeah, so high pressure selling is, you're using the fear of missing out would be one that if you don't do it now for whatever reason, it is used in medicine
Mhm.
and it's used in like sites of excellence. We're looking to partner with somebody in this region and then we're going to, do a lot of therapy awareness and if you don't partner with us then you'll be left out. We have limited spots in trainings,
Mhm.
cadaver labs if you don't get. So believe it or not, they use the scarcity to try to do high pressure selling. You'll also try to go over doctors' heads when it's a health economics solution by going to administration of hospital and forcing them to use it.
Mhm.
If they come in with a package deal because the company coming in can offer navigation and instrumentation and hardware and they package it and they high pressure. So it does exist. I'm not a fan of it.
Mhm.
I've beaten some of those deals, but they take a long time. In the Nordic countries, they use tenders and they will lock people in with the health economics portion of it. And you'll be locked into a tender. That's kind of an open bid that lasts 10 years. In Europe, they call those tenders. On contract would be what we'd call that here in the United States. So I worked heavily in the Nordics, a lot of time in Finland, amazing rep there, a lot of time in Norway, some time in Sweden, Denmark. So a lot of tenders. And when they get locked out, the reps are like, okay, well, we can't do anything for a while. I was like, no, no, no. Let's go by there. Take me by there. Because you got to start working on it. And if you love what you do, you love your company, you know you're going to be there in 2 years or 1 year when that tender opens back up, then you got to get in front of it.
Mhm.
And that's coming in, demonstrating and bringing value.
Mhm.
And the beautiful thing about that is those were where I was able to demonstrate and help essentially put those reps through boot camp on not using high pressure sales techniques because there is no tender about to be open. There is no last minute try to get the bid, try to do this. It was 2 years to keep bringing value studies, clinical studies, demonstrating new technology that's out on the horizon, talking to them about patient outcomes and new programming algorithms. Just keep coming back and really truly uncovering that physician's true pain. And not only just their pain, but maybe because you have such a long period of time and no stress, you can really find that core issue that's causing it for them. And I think that gets missed by all of us because we go into these sales calls and we all go in with the intention that there's a chance. Every time we go for a lunch appointment with a doctor here in the States, subconsciously or consciously, we're thinking we're going to present and share everything that we're actually going to win their business on this meeting right here. And if I told you right before going in, there is absolutely no way you're winning this business right now. Absolutely no way. It's going to take 7 meetings
Mhm.
before you can even, before that's even a possibility. It changes your strategy and it changes your approach. And you get away from that high pressure sales. And you start to really lean in to understand them, their needs, their pain points, and really craft a solid solution for them.
Mhm.
And we all know it to be true. We all know when we go do a lunch, we're not getting their business. If you're pharmaceutical, they might write you a script in, but they're not going to open the floodgate with you on that first meeting. If you're selling spinal cord stem or peripheral stem, you might get a trial then, but that's not their business. And if you went in and didn't even get a trial, I wouldn't mark that appointment any less important than if you did get a trial. So if you can understand that and grasp it, that you're in it for the long haul, you're in it for the long game, then you change your strategy and you start seeking for that larger, more important core issue versus that superficial pain point that you can identify and twist the dagger in and create enough pain to where then you can do the needs payoff and demonstrate to them how your solution will help overcome that little pain point.
Mhm. That's good. That's good. It kind of goes to a point you make about knowing a great deal about your customer versus knowing a great deal about your product, and what you would pick if you had to pick only one of those two items.
Yeah. If I would choose somebody, if I'm building a team that knows the customers in that area, Now, they have to have the same qualities and characteristics that fit the company. So, as long as those work ethic and strong character is present, then I will pick the individual that knows the customers over the individual that knows the product better. Because if you know the customers, then the trust is there and you can start leaning in and you can get the core issue. If you know the product, it doesn't demonstrate to me that you have the skill set or ability to gain their trust, identify their pain. So if somebody's interviewing for a job, I would share examples of where you uncovered a superficial pain point, but through interaction and demonstrating value and working with them, that you worked down to finding the core issue and you were able to deliver a much stronger solution that address several pain points because you hit the core issue. If you can share a story like that, I think that would go powerful with the manager.
Yeah. No, that's good. You made a great point, and I felt called out on it a little bit when you started talking about the difference between being a field marketer and being in sales. And you said a good test is to stop and basically run through your mind or out loud your sales pitch on, in my case, it would be a job. Can you say it without even thinking? And for every job I recruit for, whether I write it down or have it in my head, I have a pitch. I have I say almost the exact same thing. If I had a parrot in my office, it would know all about half a dozen clients and be able to say it verbatim because I say it almost the same way every time. But that's being a marketer. That's not being necessarily a salesperson. And you kind of delineate that difference. Talk to us about that, because I thought that was really valuable insight for me.
So there's a individual in my life that we own a business together. It's a agricultural business. We own it together. And I challenge him, even though he's very wealthy and very successful on all measurements and accolades. I say, you're not a salesperson. I said, you've sold a ton, but you're not a salesperson. I said, because you can record what you say and put it on the radio or leave it on a voicemail, and it's the same as whether or not you get the person on the phone live. Because he never stops to take a breath of fresh air to ask the person about themselves or what they think or what they're interested in. It's just he tells them. So there's a balance there, because you need your elevator pitch to let them know why you're there. But as soon as you're done with that, then you have to put on a different hat and start to listen and learn about them. And that's covering two parts of my sales process. The S is for strategize, the A is for articulate. You do need to articulate something. If it's the first time meeting them, it needs to be your tagline or a synopsis of what you sell. And if you have an idea of what could possibly be a pain point, throw it out there. I sell this and I help people that have this type of problem. And then it's now time for them to speak. And when they speak, you better be ready to listen and learn. It's almost like you want to invite the negative of what you said, like they don't need your service. And when they say they don't need it or they don't, that won't really help their practice or their business. Why is that? I would love to understand why that is. Let them talk and share. If you catch yourself overcoming an objection right then and there, you are not listening and learning, and you're immediately shutting them down, and they're not going to share anymore with you. We all do it ourselves. So everyone listening to this podcast, you're sales individuals, but you're also consumers in your life elsewhere. If somebody's trying to share something with you and you share with them why it won't work for you, and they quickly overcome your objection, like, okay, thank you for educating me. You might give them one more attempt and say, yeah, but it's just too costly. And they hit you again with a quick overcoming the objection. Then I'd say 90% of us will kind of put up the fence, put up the wall, and like, okay, man, thanks a lot. Yeah, let me get your info. Let me get your card. Okay, great. That person leaving will say, yeah, that went good. I overcame their objections and they asked for my card. You leaving is like, yeah, I'm not talking to that person ever again. What we need to do is lean in. Don't offer your suggestion. I almost want this to happen to you. If you're in the field with your boss and a customer says a problem that your product offers a solution to, don't jump in with that solution. Ask more. Because what if that objection is extremely superficial? On the Likert scale, it's like a 2 in the pain. 0 to 10, how painful is it for that customer? It's a 2. So do you really want to solve the solution to a 2 right there? No, ask more, learn more, let them talk. Once somebody's talking, they're going to continue to talk until you interrupt them. Don't interrupt them. If they start to get something more, let's say more sincere or bigger, and they're working their way toward a core issue, and then they get to a core issue, clarify it. Respond. Let them know. Like, so are you saying that when this happens, that creates this in your business or your practice? And like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Say, okay, that's good to know. Don't offer your solution then either. As long as you have secured and locked in your reason to return, so you know you're going to see this person again, this customer, this prospect, then you don't have to offer your solution. You will go to the parking lot and you will have your manager say, hey, you missed a perfect chance to mention our new product, or you had a perfect chance to mention this vertical solution that we have. And you're like, no. That is going to be my reason to come back next week, or I'm going to lead off with next week. So now I want everybody to play an empathy game. I'm selling you something. You give me an objection. You keep talking. I'm like, so is that objection, like, is that a real painful one? Is that something that you see commonly? Is that like one that keeps you up at night? Like, no, gosh, no. That doesn't bother me at all. What really bothers me is our reimbursement. Some payers reimburse it, some payers don't. That's what really bothers me and keeps me from freely offering this therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay. Now, instead of offering our solution for that, because we have a perfect solution for the payer mix,
Mm-hmm.
I don't offer it. I then come back with a promised reason to return because I was going to demo the product or bring something back. So I have a promised return visit, reason to return. I come back and I lead off the next meeting with, I could not stop thinking about what you said last time about your payer mix and how you're working on small margins here. You got a lot of overhead with your staff, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to keep these doors open in your clinic. Otherwise you can't help patients. So I think I have a solution that might fit that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still playing the empathy game, everybody.
Yeah.
Which one would you receive? What messaging would you receive better? The person that hits you with the overcoming the objection on the first meeting, or they come back a week later and say, I've really been thinking about it. I put it together. Here it is. And they talk about it. Which one would you rather receive? I know which one I would receive. If you hit me with a great solution, and it could be great, it could be a great solution. You hit me with that thing right after I give you an objection. You overcome my objection, hit it with it. I'm still kind of like, I just threw out an objection. So in my mind, I'm still playing a little defensive. So I'm not purely receiving your solution. You come back to me, Jordan, you come back to me in a week and you're like, hey, thanks for having me back. I really gave it a lot of thought, Travis, about you were talking about the payer mix and this and that. And then you share with me your solution. My mind's in the right place. The environment's in the right place. I'm honored that you thought about it. I almost forget a little bit of what my objection even was. And then all of a sudden you share it with me. I am ready to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen this time and time again work. When I travel abroad and I go through all those countries, when I'm in Japan or when I'm in Australia and I'm Dubai, and I get the reps to do this and I have observed them do it, the doctors receive it so much better. It honors them that you went away and came back. My Japanese team even coined it as a homework. So like, did you get your homework to go home and do? So they come back with something to share and to do, and then they also overcome the objection then. But I'm telling you, there'll be some managers out there, and they'll say you missed an opportunity, and you need to say no. This opportunity is going to be really good. It's the difference between hitting a solo home run and having the bases loaded and hitting a grand slam.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's excellent. And I think you kind of illustrate that with the doctor that you had that was really, yeah, and you didn't know it maybe initially, focused on his time management, and being efficient. And there was a way that you wove your product in that you were selling to make them the hero in their story, if you would.
Yeah, I'm gonna protect his name in this one because we all have these types of doctors they're very good with their hands and they're faster than other doctors. And because his hands are good, his outcomes are pretty solid. But what he really cares about, and it took me a while to uncover this, was just the speed in the OR.
Yeah.
So we had a device that fit that because of our the way we could distribute the current, you didn't have to be in the exact right spot. We didn't have to spend that much time programming. He could just kind of slide it in there. Prior to him, I was getting huge success talking about outcomes and only outcomes. So, yes, him and I had a conversation about outcomes, and he did have some patients that he wished he would get stem all the way to the bottom of the feet and some of the difficult dermatomes, good coverage. And I could have went all in. I could have done the whole value proposition on those. But it wasn't until he felt comfortable that he started to share with me that it was more about speed in the OR. And there's other doctors too that, until they're comfortable with you and trust you, they may not want to talk about reimbursement or professional fees until they feel comfortable with you. And that's where you can really chase the wrong pain point. You really can. And if I told you, like, hey, great, you identified a pain point, wonderful. 0 to 10, how strong, and is that his worst pain point? Because we want to hit the heaviest weighted pain point. We want the most painful one, and you can identify it. And then if you can't fix that one, okay, well then you back up to the more superficial pain point that you can offer a solution for.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do some market research on how we do market research in medicine. When I was with Boston for years, I was involved in market research, and I was involved in some of the collection of it. I was involved in some of the post collection and see that it would be presented to us. And I was involved in some of the consultants that we hired that gave it to us. And I quickly learned that a doctor who is not told what company it is, because there are consulting companies out there that call doctors blindly, and they say, what do your patients do that have sleep apnea? Where do you send them? What do you do? What do you do with patients that have Parkinson's disease? How do you treat them? What medications do you usually start on? They'll ask all these sorts of questions. What are you looking for in your products? What do you want in your products? Then I was a part of advisory boards where doctors would come in. They obviously know who the company is because we're all there together face to face. They're amongst the doctors they trust, and they're a little bit more raw with their information straight to us. Then there's a time you're in the operating room with the doctor, and it's you and him or her and the supporting staff that doctor trusts, the circulator, the scrub tech that been working together for years to trust. And then the doctor gets really real with you. Like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I can make more money doing this. Or why would I do that when I can do this? Or, I had one doctor, so sad, but he ended up being a better doctor than this comment was. But he says, I don't care if your product cures cancer, I'm not using it. And I needed to hear that early on. It was kind of a wake up call. Hurt my stomach, like crushed my heart, hurt my stomach. And I was like, oh my gosh, well then what am I even doing to sell my product on outcomes? Well, that was an outlier, and he ended up being a great guy, but he was getting ready to retire, and he says he didn't want to learn anything new. So that was the basis of that comment. So these doctors say different stuff in front of the audience that's in front of them, and it varies. So if you're walking into their office, who are you? If they don't know you, then you're no different than that cold call, the anonymous phone marketing company, which those answers are always, we care about outcomes, we care about reliability, and we care about safety. And then you're in a sales advisory board, and they kind of stack rank those a little differently. And then with your doctor all by themselves, and they say it a little bit different.
Yeah. They don't care about anything.
Yeah. Yes.
You're with this doctor, and they're like,
Yep.
You can't make me care about those things.
Yeah. That one doctor who said I was going to die in the cage, he used to say there was an instrumentation that we had for putting in our patosurgical lead. And he says, I hate your patosurgical lead. I hate it. And he goes, if it wasn't for you, I would use the other company just because of this stupid paddle. So that was awesome. But that was him being raw with me. And I had to deliver so much more of a benefit to him to overcome that, because hardware is an issue sometimes. And that's another real one.
Yeah.
You can offer better outcomes, but if it takes the doctor 5 more minutes or they don't like using the tool, there's a chance that's going to be a short-lived success. They may use it a couple times and then not. So, and how do you do that? How do you overcome those objections? You can't just take the superficial pain point. You got to be hunting the whole time. And if you get a couple cases with them, you got to keep on learning, keep on leaning in. I feel like the time in the OR is wasted. When reps leave ORs and they say, how'd the case go? It went good. Why? Because the product didn't hit the ground? Because your billing sheet got filled out and you actually got your PO and didn't have to come back for it? Like, why did it go good? You didn't get yelled at by the surgeon? Like, what's good? I feel we missed an opportunity. You should be coming to the OR to bring value. You should be learning and reading up on other therapies out there, therapies outside your industry. I love Inspire. I love sleep apnea. I've had several conversations with surgeons doing deep brain stimulator talking about sleep apnea. We get into meaningful conversations about upcoming therapy. Then they share with me what they don't like or like about the therapy. And then we talk about it because, Parkinson's patients and pain patients suffer from sleep. And now we're in a conversation about that. And oh, by the way, I offer programming and I have scheduling in my programming that allows the patient to automatically have the stimulation changed for the best one for them when they're laying down and sleeping. So you don't get meaningful conversations like that unless you're bringing up stuff, which falls into my sales process. Do a little strategy, articulate something, shut up and listen and learn. It's really listen and learn, but I'm just adding the shut up part. Shut up and listen and learn. And then when the time is right, you explore emotions with them. They say, I would never do that because of this. Well, why is that? What would happen? Well, if you did that, what would that mean? Well, if you had a solution for it, how would that look? Or what would that play? What would that mean to your practice? And then you help them envision the emotion of getting the good outcomes with your system or avoiding the bad outcomes if they stay on course with however they're doing it.
Love it. And this, of course, leads to the next invite to come back. Will you come back?
That's what I'm talking about. Leaving you with a reason to return. Love it.
We're applying this stuff real time, folks. I get so much out of your book, Travis. I really, really do. And it helps my business so much. We didn't even get, and we will next time, about connecting when interviewing candidates. And I think we have a mutual friend named Alan that is very good at doing that.
Yes.
VP of yours, and a lot to talk about, a whole lot. You will come back, won't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm enjoying this. Absolutely. And I love what you're doing. I'm a fan of your company. I heard your intro and I need to go give a rating for you. I gave a referral, which should be the highest metrics at your KSI, your measurements, but I'm going to go fill out a review for you too. Because I believe in what you and your brother do, and I think you guys do an amazing job.
We try. It's boutique. It's niche-y. We're not a big house. We're having a great year. I'll say that. This has been a really, really good year. Some things in motion for next year that we're having exploratory conversations about, which is always exciting. So, all right, Travis. Great catching up. You take care.
Thank you, Jordan. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Chase MedSearch podcast. I hope that you gained some helpful insight from today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and give us a like on your favorite streaming platform. It really helps grow our audience. For more information on Chase MedSearch, visit our website at chasemedsearch.com. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, I'm Jordan Chase, and this has been the Chase MedSearch podcast.